Java with Joe the podcast is brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, celebrating over 90 years of quality service to our membership. Sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee, the official coffee of Java with Joe, and Real Vision. And now your host, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance, Joe Hinson.
Thank you. We're with Kamar Beaco, Executive Director of Family Promise of Butler County. Kamar, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. You are a native Cincinnatian, is that correct?
Yes, born and raised, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes, and you went to Woodward High School.
I graduated from Woodward High School, but I did 50-50, Purcell Marion and Woodward High School.
Oh, okay, very good. And I see that you received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Wilberforce University.
Yes, Wilberforce University, the first private, historically black university.
Right,
Yes.
very good. Then you moved to Illinois, where you earned a master's degree from Roosevelt University in Chicago.
I did, from Roosevelt University, yes.
So you're local. Then you went to Chicago to get your master's degree. What brought you to Chicago to do that?
So honestly, after graduating from Wilberforce, I had actually taken on a job as a private investigator. And once I started the training, I figured out that wasn't for me.
I see.
And so my sister had relocated to Illinois and had been living there for some years. And she said, hey, why don't you just come to Illinois and see if you can find your niche? And so that's what I did.
You mentioned being a private investigator. Is this something that you went to school for initially?
No, actually, it was a job opportunity that I interviewed for and thought that it would be very exciting.
Yeah.
And they hired me, and there was a training program for that, of course, to learn how to do the job itself in private investigating. And once I started the training, I knew that it wasn't for me.
Very good. Wow. So you've spent over 25 years in the nonprofit sector. What are some of the positions you held?
Oh, wow. So working that long in the field, I've started from the bottom and made it to the top, in essence. So starting out as case management, as early as case management in undergrad, I did internships and then became coordinators, program managers, supervisor, and then of course director of programs, and then executive director. And that was just a combination of the multiple years. But in my 20s, my early 20s is when I started management within the nonprofit sector.
So what was it about nonprofits that kind of you said, this is something I'm interested in? Because obviously you took a career, didn't decide to do it on the corporate side. You didn't decide to become an entrepreneur, but something brought you to the nonprofits. What was that?
I think it was my upbringing. Honestly, my mother is a retired nurse, and she did nursing for over 40 years. But growing up, we've always seen her take care of not just being a nurse in the profession, but everyone in the family. So whenever anyone took ill, she was always the person that everyone called on to come and help. And so I think that was just embedded in me. And I think actually, I found out my true passion when I took on the internship. At Wilberforce University, we had to do 2 semesters of interning in order to graduate. And I happened to stumble across a therapeutic foster care program. Interview, they love me, I love them, and that's where I got involved. And that's when I found out that my true passion was helping others, in particular the foster care, and it was youth that were troubled and teen parents, and from there, that's where I found out.
So you lived in Illinois for over 20 years. You mentioned obviously that connectivity with your sister. So what brought you back to the Cincinnati area?
So it was that time, my parents becoming older and encountering illness. And so I originally came back to assist my mom with caring for my dad. And that's what brought me back.
And so now you're the new executive director of Family Promise of Butler County. When did you start?
Oh, in July.
July of this year?
Yes, July of this year.
Wow. And,
I like to say 90 days in, a little bit over 90 days if you count the weekends.
So what intrigued you and why the connection with Family Promise of Butler County?
Well, most importantly, having worked in the nonprofit arena, I knew that when I relocated back here, I was destined to find a organization that was true to their mission, two that was focused on really having an impact on the communities. And I have the experience of working within the homeless population, those that are experiencing homelessness, and so it was just a match. It was a match.
Very good. So for those that are watching today and are not familiar with Family Promise of Butler County, explain what Family Promise of Butler County is.
Okay. Well, Family Promise of Butler County is a homeless shelter. And it is for families that are experiencing homelessness, and they have to be a resident of Butler County. And what we do is we provide that shelter and give them the opportunity to rebuild and gain self-sufficiency again. And so we provide extensive case management services, and then we hold their hands and uplift them and encourage them, and they're able to stay in our program. We give it a 90-day time frame, but if it takes longer than that, we're there to continue to support them. And of course, we have partnerships throughout the communities to help with other agencies, such as Housing Advocate, that will come in and help us guide them to search and secure permanent housing.
Very good. So you move families from homelessness to sustainable independence. Is that pretty much what you do?
That's it.
And it's a national movement, I see, that started in 1988, now in over 43 states. That's amazing.
Yes, yes.
So were you familiar with Family Promise before you came to Butler County?
Yes. Well, not necessarily Family Promise, but the inception of it, Interfaith, the original name of the organization, which later to be known as Family Promise. Yes.
So this is a question that gets asked occasionally in our area, and you've probably been asked this yourself. We live in an affluent area. Do we really have homeless people?
Well, we would like to think that we don't. However, in Butler County alone, in 2023-24, ending of the school year, there was nearly 1,800 students that were experiencing homelessness. So if that put anything into correlation as far as, is it in our backyard? It absolutely is.
Yes, and so we're in the Westchester Liberty area to the eastern side of Butler County. Looked at as an affluent area, but also recognizing that this is also throughout the entire county. We're not just talking about just bits and pieces of Butler County. We're talking about the entire county as far as these numbers you're talking about.
Yes, the entire county.
Yes, very good. Interesting discussions that started where there was a real need for homeless people in support, and actually, it actually started in 2014 in Westchester. Believe it or not, and which led to the opening of Family Promise of Butler County in 2016.
Yes.
And so obviously there's been other people in your position before you, but it's not been in Butler County, for 8 years now. So it's not something, as we were talking about, 20 plus years here in our county. So it's still relatively new.
Yes.
And with that said, so where do the homeless families stay? So when you find them, tell us a little bit about the process.
Okay, so actually, it's not about us finding them. They actually reach out to us, and they will As you know, the community has multiple organizations that are assisting with homelessness. And so somehow they'll be guided to us, and as well as we have our literature out there for them to be aware of us as well. And we attend all of the different resource fairs and things of that nature so that our community know that we are here to help. When they reach out to us, we do a thorough assessment to make sure that they are experiencing homelessness.
Sure.
And with that, then they go through our intake process. And then what we do is we partner with, currently we have 9 congregations that we partner with, and we actually rotate on a weekly basis with them. So we actually are operating a rotational model and a hybrid model. And our rotational model is weekly. A church will host. We have 9 congregations, and they provide a meal, and they also provide a night for the families to stay. And then the families come back to our day center. And then during the day, the children are picked up from school, and then the children come back to our day center. Our hybrid model is where they actually will remain on site at the day center for the week, in which we don't have a congregation hosting.
Very good. So what are some of the reasons that people become homeless?
Good question. It varies. Everybody's story tends to be different, but what it really boils down to is not having sustainable income to maintain their rental cost or their mortgage cost, whichever it may be. Most of it is underemployed, and either underemployed or not employed, unable to get a job. We watch our families, our parents diligently search for employment, and they're just not receiving the feedback that they should get.
Yeah, sure.
They're not getting employed. Or if they are getting employed, it's part-time hours, not full-time
Absolutely.
hours. And then if they do get employed, minimum wage is $10.75 or $10.45, not for sure, but it's $10
Sure.
an hour, and that's not sufficient enough to raise a family on.
No. So how do homeless families connect with you? How do they get connected to you? How does that connection happen? Is there an education process? You talked about it before. If somebody watching this and wants to make that connection, how would that happen?
The best way for them is to go to our website. From there, or they can Google our number. But our number, you can just give us a call, 513-444-2033.
And so if somebody reaches out to you, so how does this process begin then? Okay, so they reach out to you, you talk with them, and so kind of take us through the kind of the steps to moving the process forward and being able to help them.
So when they call us, we do the assessment. The thing with our program is that we're small, but we're mighty. So we help 3 families at a time. And with that being said, we do have a waiting list. And our waiting list is rather long. But however, once they do, if we have the space available, once they actually are going to be placed on a waiting list.
Okay.
Once the waiting list is available and it's down to their name, then we call them in, and then they complete the in-person assessment. With that, the case manager provides that, our program manager, and from there, she will set them up for the program to start. It's very low eligibility requirements, and so and when I say that is that no one needs to feel like they can't get in.
I see.
We take it case by case basis, and we're able, because we are self-funded and donor funded and grant funded, we have more flexibility to say who can enter into the program.
Sure. So there might be qualifiers, but it appears like everybody has an opportunity.
Everyone has an opportunity. And everyone, as long as they share their story, we may very well be able to help them,
Oh,
even
that's
when
good.
they think that no program would take them.
That's good. I think you mentioned before about the length. What's the average length of being able to have somebody in a position of being able to get them a assistance that they need to get back on their feet?
So our program, we state 90 days. But however, if it takes longer than 90 days, we will continue to service them. But what we have noticed is that it's been averaging about 45 to 50 days.
Oh, okay. So you get to that point where someone has an opportunity now to move on, get into a home, and start to be on their own and move forward with their family. Do you stay in touch with them, and are you supportive after they leave the program?
We do. We do have an aftercare program. And so we do stay in contact with them. And now our aftercare program is going to be more broader than what it was before. And so when they exit our program, they have a housing case manager that provides services for them up to 3 months to the 90 days. And then that's when we'll follow back up and make sure that they're able to sustain. And so the aftercare program consists of a year of having contact
very good.
and staying
Very good.
in
Very good.
contact with them.
So somebody that's watching us, they say, well, I'd like to get involved to be helpful. I would like to like to help. I'd like to support. How would they go about doing that?
Once again, go to our website or give us a call at 513-444-2033. And we invite all volunteers. And all you have to do is or send us an email. And we will definitely respond. Give us about 48 hours, and we'll respond, and we'll definitely let you know how you can volunteer.
So is there any specific needs right now that you have?
One thing that we do on our website, we have specific items that our families need that are in the program, because we do supply everything for them, from soap to paste to bath towels to linens and things of that nature. And so we do update that on a monthly basis as to say what we need donated. And you can actually go to the Walmart, your local Walmart, Target, and have it shipped to us or whatever have you. So that's a great source way to donate to us on a monthly basis, as well as you go to our website. We have all of our donor information on there.
You talked about volunteers, and obviously that's something of need. But as far as staff goes, how many people do you have as part of your team that get are a part of making this happen day in and day out?
Right. Once again, we're small, but we're mighty. So we have 4 staff members.
4 staff members.
Yes, and we have 2 contractors.
Okay.
And that's our team.
Okay, very good. So even though you are new in your role, I'm sure you've already thought about what you'd like to see with Family Promise here in the next 3 to 5 years. Can you give us an idea of what we can expect to see from Family Promise of or what we plan to see from Family Promise of Butler County here in the next 3 to 5 years?
Absolutely. The number one thing is growth. As stated, we now are able to service 3 families. And what we see is us moving forward in the next 5 years of being able to double that number, and then perhaps double that number and double that number. So realistically, we are looking to grow within those 5 years so that we can have a bigger impact.
So, we have other communities around us. We talk about Butler County, we have Warren County, we have Hamilton County, we have Montgomery County. Is there Family Promise in each of those counties too? And if so, is there connectivity between all the different ones that we mentioned?
Yeah. So yes, there is other Family Promises, and yes, we are all part of. We are separate affiliates, but we're all part of the National Family Promise organization.
Very good. Well, this has been Kamar Beaco. She's the new executive director of Family Promise of Butler County. Kamar, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Java with Joe has been brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee and Real Vision. Thanks for listening.